How's it, guys? Coral, yeah. You have my email there. Please, if you've listened to the session and you've got some questions, always send me an email. It's easier to get hold of me through an email rather than through VC Learn. I promised you to do some work around the IDEATE model of idea creation. It's in your textbook, I think, around about page 70. If you haven't read through that section, please pause this now. Read through that section. And the reason why I want you to read through, they give a worked example there. I'm going to use a different example, but so that you've got a bit of background and you know, and you can drop me an email and say, hang on, Carl, the textbook says this. I think you're talking nonsense on the third point. But in any case, yeah, please read up so you've got a bit of background. And let me get into the IDEATE model. IDEATE is identify, discover, enhance, anticipate, target, and evaluate. Now I'm going to deal with each one of those 6 items. Well, that's basically a way of identifying new ideas and discovering ways in which you can enhance these new business ideas to create a business. This is something that you are required to do and show how you've done this. In the first part of the POE that's due in a couple of weeks, we'll have a session specifically on that. Okay, so the first thing is you identify idea. So what are the problems that people are currently trying to solve in your area of activity? Things people are already spending money on, but they feel the problem's not really solved. And what are the underlying causes of this problem? So in my case, I've decided, okay, let's have a look at a garden service. And in terms of identifying the problem, we know that people like beautiful gardens. Many people want to have a garden that they feel proud about, that they think the neighbors will think they've got a great garden and so on. But the garden services that are out there are mostly lawn mowing services, maybe digging a little bit in the beds around the flowers, but they're predominantly just mowing the lawn. And people are also starting to get concerned about the environment. What is the impact of the chemicals? If I was to use chemicals to enhance my garden, what's the impact of that? And why is there a need for the core problem, the underlying causes of the problem? Why is there this need? Well, people don't have time. Time is money. People don't have time. Many people have a lack of knowledge. They don't know how to properly maintain the garden, and they don't know what they're supposed to do in what season. And then there's the whole issue around sustainability. I've spoken about chemicals, but is this garden something that's sustainable? Is this something that I can, over the long term, enhance my garden, grow my garden into something, or am I going to have to keep on replacing trees and spending money on it? So now that we've identified the problem, we've got to look for new ideas. What can we do? And to do this, we need to search for ideas. We need to look at what are the changes. They list there on the screen: social and demographic, technological changes, etc. So as a garden service, how are we going to do this? We're going to do a survey. We're going to go knock on people's doors, say, look, you've got a great garden. What would you expect a service to do to help you? Knock on the next door, say, look, it looks like your garden might need a bit of help. What would you expect from a service that you're paying for to enhance this garden? What would you like us to do? Maybe go on Facebook, speak to a couple of community groups on Facebook and say to them, guys, what is it? Please help me. Tell me what would you like from such a service. So then we'll be able to establish what it is that people expect. So now that we've got a sense of what this idea is, what the problem is, now we go back to our original idea and we see if we can enhance this. How do we expand this idea? Oh, and I see I've got an ugly ideas to new application. How do we expand these ideas? How are we innovative? How do we do things that people haven't previously done? You don't have to discover a wheel. You don't have to create a new wheel. You can simply enhance existing ideas. So you can build on the ideas that you already have. So things we could possibly do with our garden service. What about consulting services? Instead of you paying a monthly fee, we come in once and we consult with you. For instance, what native plants work in this area, or how do you lower your water bill by rainwater harvesting? And what do you do with your rainwater? Which plants do you give the rainwater to? Designing a garden. keeping in mind what the person wants. Are they looking for biodiversity, for example? Do they want to attract small animals and birds to their garden? Or is it something that they want just a low maintenance garden? Of course, you can then have your obviously your garden service itself that'll come up and work in the garden. You can even say, you know what? We're going to present workshops where we bring people into a central place and we're going to explain garden maintenance and what you need to do from time to time. So the next is the anticipation part of IDEATE. What do we think will change in the future? What is it if this is where we think our garden service will be now, what is going to happen in 5 years? What is going to happen in 10 years? What are people going to be look at? So we might say in our garden service, you know what? There's nothing groundbreaking, nothing earth-shattering that we've come up now. But we do know that the economy is not looking well. We do know that people are concerned about what they eat, and many people are concerned of genetic modification and so on. Why don't we start looking in terms of the garden service away from the traditional garden service, and because we think there's going to be changes, let's start going towards doing a more sustainable, eco-friendly, edible garden. So what can we put in our garden that people will be able to eat? So now we've twisted this further. We've gone from a garden service, a lawn mowing service, to a more consulting, eco-friendly type of service, to where we see the future probably lies closer to something that people can use to save money and to eat. So who are we going to target? Now we need to say, where do we roll this out? So what we're looking for is, for this garden service, we look at people that are concerned with environment. We look for people that are a community that wants to live healthy, and a community that's active. They like working in their gardens. You may even look for a community that's got a community garden and target them. So now we've got the sense. Now we need to find out, does this idea work? And there we're looking for early adopters. Think back of stuff you've been taught in previous years, what an early adopter is, and we target those early adopters. We roll it out with them. The last section of IDEATE is the evaluate part. You'll find that many of these models, we always do the evaluation. And now we say, if we roll out these vegetable gardens into people's home gardens, or if there's a community garden, does the solution provide a service that solves a problem? How big is this target market? Is this a sustainable business? Do we like it? You as the entrepreneur, are you happy to work with this? Is this something you believe in and you think long term you can make a business out of it? And do you have the skills and the abilities to be able to do this? Right? Now, what you also need to keep in mind about IDEATE is pretty much a iterative process or a repeating process. So you might get to this point and say, you know what? It's not something I really want to do. So what do? We say, good exercise, we've learned something. Let's identify something new. And we start IDEATE from scratch. Or we can say, well, we do like this idea of the vegetable garden when we get to this last evaluate section. We do like this. It solves a problem. But the market is too small, man. We're not going to, as an entrepreneur, I like the idea. I have the skills, but the market is too small. Now we go back to the first idea. We identify a vegetable market and we say, how do we expand this? And we may go through this iterative process a number of times. And you know what? We might eventually end up in a place where we're running a market that sells produce that are produced by people that have got vegetable gardens at their home. We might end up being a organization, an entrepreneurial venture that makes sauces and bottled goods rather than doing anything with gardening. You don't know where IDEATE is going to take you. But the whole idea of using IDEATE is that you do this ideation part of your entrepreneurial venture and come up with new ideas by being creative. Okay, guys, that's all I want to say about IDEATE. Once again, there's my email. If you've got anything that you want to ask me or tell me or say to me about this, please feel free to do that. You can also, in any one of the contact sessions, just take me back to this. And we can also talk about this when we do our national student support session in preparation for the assignment. That NSS you'll see listed in the updated PACER, which should be out in the next couple of days. Thank you, guys. Keep well. Cheers.